All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. So this morning we'll have almost what we could just call a rounded perspective on developments about registration, getting your permanent voter cards, preparations for the elections, the role of INEC, and the experiences of all of those who may have gone to get themselves set for the elections. So we have quite a number of people who are on this morning, and then INEC will go ahead and give us their perspective from what people have experienced. And so we do have Mr. Festus Okoye. He's the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee for INEC. He joins us from Ekiti. Yeah, you know that elections are going to be going on there, so he's there getting themselves. Good morning, Mr. Okoye. Thank you for joining us today. I'm almost going to say that you're almost getting as popular as those presidential candidates now, because now we have to be calling you almost every now and then.
Good morning.
All right, and then we also do have, I think we have Charles Obina, who's a member. He's a candidate for the House of Reps position for Enugu North, Enugu South of the APC. He joins us from Enugu. Mr. Obina, I hope I got that right. Did I?
Yes, you did. Okay. Yes, you did. It's Charles Obina.
All right. Good morning. You know, sometimes these names can be, the parties can be stuck in your head. Then you give APC for PDP, PDP for APC, LP for SDP. Those kind of things can happen, but then at least not now. But we also do have some guests in Abuja. Mark, why could you do us the honors to introduce them?
Thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us Mr. Jeff Ojinika, who is a former member of the House of Representatives and also the former Deputy Chairman of IPAC. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you.
And we also have with us Ms. Oluchi Nwosu, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party and also a media entrepreneur and gender advocate. Good morning and welcome to you.
Thank you.
Well, perhaps we'll start from here, Chamberlain, or would you like to do us the honors and start the conversation in Lagos?
Yeah, just a brief one, because, I mean, Mr. Okoye will get to hear them all out before he then responds to the experiences. But we'd like to just hear from Mr. Okoye, having seen the headlines and so many waiting for the political parties to submit who their running mates will be. Mr. Okoye, could you tell us, do you have any parties submitted any names as of yet, or who their running mates will be?
Well, I'm in Ekiti and I wouldn't know, but all the political parties are aware that they have a deadline to submit the list and personal particulars of their presidential candidates, their vice presidential candidates, their senatorial candidates, and members of the House of Representatives. And that deadline is cast in stone and is not extendable.
Okay, because, you know, the last time INEC said some of these things, and then that window was given to political parties for party primaries. So would you blame anyone for saying, wait a minute, if INEC did it before, why can't they do something again?
Well, there is no basis and no cogent or verifiable reason to do such this time around, because all the political parties have already conducted their party primaries. They already have their nominated candidates. So the only thing they need to do is just to upload the list and personal particulars of these candidates. If you recall, most of the political parties screened their aspirants in terms of making sure that they presented the originals of their certificates and all the other supporting documents. And so the supporting documents are with the political parties. And so the only thing they need to do is to upload the list and personal particulars of these candidates. And we have also trained 4 persons each from each of the 18 registered political parties on how to use our online candidates nomination portal. And so there's no excuse for any political party to complain. And we are confident that they have to upload. Well, it's the choice of a political party. And you can conduct party primaries and you may decide not to present candidates for election. And so if any political party that conducted primaries decides not to field any candidate, it is his choice, and the commission will not do anything about that.
Or in 72 hours, if any political party that does not submit the name of their running mates, what happens?
that political party will not be on the ballot. The implication is that that particular political party does not have any candidate in the election, and the portal will shut down at 6 p.m. on the 17th day of June 2022. And so, if the portal shuts down, nobody will come up the portal for any political party that has not done the needful.
All right, so Mr. Okoye, just settle back, and then we'll get responses from our guests who will be speaking about the experiences and the expectations for getting registered for the permanent voter cards, concerns for their parties. So consider this a town hall, because the viewers will also send their response to us. So when that happens, you respond almost at any point in time. You could butt in, and then we'll just cue you on that. For now, Makwe, let's start this from Abuja.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. So I'd like to start with the lady on the panel here. Once again, welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm sure you must have followed the President's Democracy Day speech. I mean, I kept on saying that it seemed a rather interesting coincidence that all the party primaries were conducted shortly before we had Democracy Day, as if to underscore just what democracy is supposed to be all about. The president talking about how he's monitored the primaries and people have conducted themselves well. People have been quite tempered with their choice of words. Victors have been gracious in victory, and those who were defeated have accepted their fate. People who want to challenge it are choosing to challenge it in the court of law rather than resorting to jungle justice, etc. What has been your reading of and he also talked about gender. I mean, the fact that women are asking to be included a bit more. When you listen to the president's Democracy Day speech, what would you say were your major takeaways, the points where you agreed with him and perhaps the points where you disagreed?
Having listened to the president and what he had to say to us on Democracy Day, I am of the opinion that Nigerians were expecting more. They're expecting to hear more from him as the president of the country. And he just talking about how parties conducted elections, and according to him, everything was free and fair. To a great extent, I believe that I don't think that the people around him give him what the true feedback is about the process, especially his own party. In as much as we haven't seen people come out to protest, as a media person, following conversations, having to interview people, I've seen especially young people leave quietly, leave the APC. I'll give an example. People who used to go around with his name as, on social media as a tag, have had to remove that name. Why? Because even in the APC, they didn't feel that they had a sense of belonging. They didn't feel that things were done properly. Before this particular one, there was they had an event, and on the stage, something actually broke. I broke down in as much as I am on the other side of the political carpet. I saw a young man who had campaigned, tried to make people understand that he can actually do this, and got on stage, and I don't know what happened. One whisper led to the other, and they were asking him to stand down. And you can see that from the stage, the kind of protest that was ongoing there. You
mean at the presidential primaries?
Not the presidential primaries. There was a function that the APC had before this primaries. And on that stage, I can't remember the young man's name, but young people began to chant, "Stay on your mandate, stay on your mandate." And in tears, he had to step down. Things like that it goes a long way to tell us as young people in the country that is a battle. There's so much we need to do to get there. And then why did you have to do they just rely on the strength of young people to go up there? Why can't they encourage people to come out? And then when we come out, why do they force us to step down? So him coming out to talk about how free and fair, it's a far cry from what we see as citizens.
That's at the APC convention. That was sometime in March.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yes.
But I'd like to ask you, when you say people expected more from the president, What more would you say that the people wanted to hear from the Democracy Day speech?
We wanted to hear how much plans or how much he has done to help, for example, simply secure us as a people. Insecurity is one of the biggest challenges we face. You don't sleep with your two eyes open, and then when you come out, you don't feel safe. You don't travel by roads anymore. And then how many Nigerians can actually afford to fly? So we needed to hear certain things. Recently, something happened in Owo. I can't find the right word to describe that crime. And we are still looking forward. We're still expecting that he was going to say something other than watery statements that we see once in a while. We've not seen any bold step being taken towards stopping or curbing this. Even in his own place, Katsina, this thing started. I don't want to make it look like it's just the south or the southwest or southeast as the target. It started from the north, and many people have died. It's so bad now that when we report things in the media, we don't even talk about robbery and other things. You just want to talk about the insurgency, killings and all of that because it has overshadowed. There are so many other things happening. And every life matters. But it's so bad that we talk about these things and it's as if we're talking about chickens or just numbers. After our war happened, the same Ondo, they abducted about 4 people. We need to feel that he's angry. We need to feel that he even knows what is happening. You can't come and you're telling us about how free and fair your primaries were and we don't feel safe. It's only people that are alive that will come out to vote.
Well, let me come to you, Mr. Ojinika. It does seem that, Ms. Nwosu is complaining that the president's speech wasn't poignant enough or didn't quite carry the gravity of the state of the nation. Some people might, disagree. I don't know whether you agree with her that perhaps the president should have been a little more stern in terms of what he had to say with regards to security.
I think I would rather even go beyond that question. So even say, if you ask the average Nigerian on the street whether there's really any need at all to have this Democracy Day, what the answer should have been, not to talk of even listening to the president. We have enjoyed democracy from 1990 till date. And from that 1990 date, if you, by all aspects of Human Development Index, Nigeria seems to be going down. There's really no aspects of our lives that has really improved. That if you now place democracy, the way we run it, in terms of what are the benefits accruing from, has this democracy, has it translated into better life for Nigerians? Has it improved our education? Has it improved our health? Has it improved in all aspects of human in development indices? You can, the answer that you get from the average Nigerian will be definitely something in the negative, in the sense that it seems that every aspect of our life seems to be suffering from a lot of decay. How can somebody be talking of the primaries, that the primaries went on well, when it was a matter of public knowledge that even the attention of the EFCC had to, be drawn into going into the arena, trying to make arrests and all the rest of them, that the primaries have now been monetized and to a very great extent dollarized. In fact, it was after the primaries that Nigerians have come to realize that we don't have money, we don't have dollars in our central bank, that our dollars are with the politicians. Because you can imagine the quantity of dollars that were being, and nobody has come out to deny that this dollar never exchanged hands. And it looks like every person, most of the candidates, especially the frontline candidates, were all, all engaged in such acts in such a way that it's now seen as a normal. I was thinking that the president would have, because once the process is dollarized or is monetized, he makes mess of that process. That process can be described as something that is jaundiced. It's not. It shouldn't have been the proper thing. In fact, if anybody was seen to have shared dollar, such a person should have been disqualified from the contest.
I think that's where the problem was. We didn't see it.
But the suspicion was there. It was right.
We heard it. We heard a lot of it.
The EFCC was there, and whether they went there for sure or what,
I mean,
nobody knows.
I was there with my colleagues.
But there was a video I saw
yes.
where some people were exchanging envelopes. And there was one of the video that trended. Some people were there, and there were exchanges. And it's a matter that is of public knowledge. Even some after the convention, some states you hear that there are problems in these states, that these people have besieged either their state leader or the other. They're all in the media.
Indeed.
And this is an indication that what people voted were not those candidates. What people voted, they voted for money. And that is not what it should be. Ordinarily, in view of an electoral act, anybody that uses money to buy or to influence voters should be disqualified. So I was thinking that the president should have gone a lot deeper. Nigerians expected much on to really tell us why this democracy is still the preferred option. Because a whole lot of things, Nigerians are not really feeling that this democracy, we're not feeling it.
Well, I am just wondering, I mean, on Friday last week, I had the chance to interview a gentleman also on this issue of democracy. And I was saying, for those who are about to give up on democracy, who are thinking that this is not the way to go, maybe this is not the system of government for us, especially when you consider quality of life, etc., etc., and about to give up on it, what would you say to them? He said, he gave a very interesting response. He said, if you think that you're down, they say he who is down needs fear no fall, that if you're down, you can be trampled upon, that, even your head can be stepped upon. So it meant that it could get worse. What we think that, it's not yet bad, it could even get worse. I'm just wondering if you think that it really could get worse than this. Because for a lot of people, they thought that democracy was going to bring us El Dorado from the point of view of military dictatorship in 1999 when we started the Fourth Republic. There were thoughts that, everything was going to get better. Would we really say that things have comparatively got worse from where we were under military dictatorship and are not quite where we expect them to be in 2022 under a democratic governance?
Yes, we don't have alternative to democracy. I think that point needs to be made. We don't have option. The only option we have is to be more democratic. But my position is that the democracy should be of benefit to our people. I happen to be part of this process in 1999. In 1999, I was a member of the State Assembly in Imo State. And the way government was run then is not exactly the way, rather than improving, in terms of the lifestyle, in terms of being sensitive to the yearnings and aspirations of the people, in terms of, in 1996, in 2003, when I was in the National Assembly, the official car of the speaker then was 406, and they had a convoy not less than 3-4 vehicles. But at the time, the thing so deteriorated to the point that you can now see in the speaker's convoy, one of them left at a time, and they said they were up to 100 vehicles in a convoy. The cost of running the democracy had been so wealthy on Nigerians to the extent that less than 5% of the population will be taking what belongs to the 95% of the population. That's out there, no jobs. People are graduating day and day and day, and the few jobs that they will create will be shared amongst the elites. that there are agencies in the country as of today that is for the novel rich. You cannot, if you want to know the big names in the country, if you go to CBN, if you go to PENCON, if you go to PTDF, if you go to some of these agencies, that's where is the sons and daughters of the privilege in the society that work there. Your brain can never take you there. It's only your surname that can take you there. This is not what democracy is all about. And that's not what it should be. There should be equal opportunity. Democracy should create equal opportunity. That all votes are equal. It should also create equal opportunity for all Nigerians. But the system we run is completely a departure from what a democracy should be and what it is in other tenets. How, in other parts of life, how can you ever imagine that countries like Venezuela, they don't have oil, they don't have crude. They import crude.
Venezuela.
They import crude. Some of they import crude and refine and sell refined products. But as in our own case, it's unimaginable that we still.
If there's anything I know Venezuela is one of the oil-producing countries.
Yes. But none of our refineries can work. We have 3 refineries. None of them can work from 1990 date. That as of now, as we talk, those refineries are not producing anything. How can we say that? What of our power generation? More than 200 million people managing.
Big questions. I mean, and you know, I think that your experience, you've had a fair share of military rule. You've also had a fair share of democratic rule. But let me ask someone whose maybe major experience has been largely that of a democratic experience. I do not know what stories you've heard, you know, or how many years you experienced under the military regime, or how life was then when you did experience it, or what your life is right now. But if you were to compare, would you say that quality of life under a democratic rule, under a democratic system, has greatly improved over what we used to see in military, under the military?
No, I would say I was very little when at least I got to see a little of Abacha, Babangida, and you know, all those people. And one thing I cannot take away from the military regime is the discipline. In as much as we've heard stories about looting and all of that, there were some things that I would always want to talk about security, because I was born in the North. I grew up in the North. And I know some of the experiences I had there. Under the military, I doubt, I'm sure you've heard this saying that if insurgency lasts, you know, particularly as the government has a hand in it. And to a very great extent, if you have to compare and analyze things properly, you would see that there's so much to question with what we have today as democracy. The people, the leaders we have are questionable. Their activities, their conduct, all questionable. Why can't we have people stick to or do things how it's meant to be done? What's the dividend of democracy? If I'm still I'm still complaining about being hungry, I see young people complain about unemployment. Take it back to 2012 under, you know, he said something and said we need to be more democratic. I totally agree. And that is why I stuck to this side of the political divide, because the name implies People's Democratic Party. And everything we do is in line. That's our ideology. A perfect example was in 2012. It was attested that Nigeria grew to the point where you could refer to us as the third fastest growing economy. What do we have today? We have been described as the poverty, like a poverty. We have even gone below what you call poverty. Is that bad? So why would you? There's no comparison. If people were left to choose, people would prefer to go back to the military rule. But I want to say that there's so much more that democracy has to offer, if only we can get the right leaders in the right places. We will be able to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Because as a citizen, I don't think I want to be working in fear of, yes, sir, the military thing. It just wouldn't work for me. But we need to understand that this democracy we have is a gift. We need to protect it. We need to defend it. We need to stand and take this thing back from these people that have stolen it. Because I would use the word stolen. They've stolen what democracy is meant to be, and they're just giving us shambles.
Let's send this to my colleagues in Lagos, and I'm sure they have questions.
Well, yeah, let's bring in Charles Obinna. He's just via Zoom in Enugu. Good morning, Mr. Obinna. Well, yeah, you may have a lot of things on your chest as well. But in addition to that, what experiences do you, or have you heard people say, when it has to do with registration and getting the permanent voter cards? Because there seems to be this buzz about it in terms of, because that is the main criteria for you to be eligible to vote.
Yeah, thank you very much. The experiences I have so far, like I'm in Enugu State, and previously, or rather in 2019 elections, thank God Barrister Festus is here, we can confirm that 51% of the 84 million voters, registered voters of 2019 were youth. But the United Nations report states that there's about 43 or about 100 million people that are at least 18 years in Nigeria. So far, what's been happening in Enugu, there's a place called Opara Square. So basically, there's been a drive to go get people registered, to get their PVC. And so, for instance, in a day, you might come to Opera Square, and from 9 to 4 p.m., there's a large turnout of crowd because they want to get their PVC. Because a lot of people on the street now, they want to make a change. They want to vote people that they feel can do something for them. So the experience has been interesting. So, for instance, if you go into some private individuals, they might just decide to get food and share out to people. Someone can come, but like 20 bags of water, or 20 bags of pure water, or bottles of water, and share amongst the people that came over, so that they can get their PVC. So it's just been an incredible experience of people coming together, of people being driven to go get their PVC to make a change for next year, against next year. So it's been incredible. People, they actually want to make a change this time around. So it's been an interesting experience.
Now, this crowd, because we imagine that when it's this kind of time, this kind of scenario, chances are that more often than not, you will get to see a crowd trying to register. But what do you know about it? Do they register? What experiences do they have? Do they succeed? Do they tell them, okay, listen, stay here for this long, come back at this time? Do they have proper information as to when and where to go to get themselves registered?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for the question. Absolutely. So, like, I'm part of a few platforms in Enugu concerning this area. I'm going to give them kudos for that. So, basically, there's been a drive on, in the sense that in how it works, you should know, is every polling unit, you can get your registration done on every polling unit. However, because of the drive recently, the information has been put on social media. What has happened is that in Lagos, in Opera Square, because this is my home state, there's been a drive at Opera Square. It's a large expanse of field of land where people can come over. So for instance, from 9 to 4 p.m., people come over to register. Now, INEC can work better sometimes, because sometimes when you come to register your biometrics, it doesn't, they might tell you, hey, there's no network, which is very unfortunate. So that's an area of improvement for them. You come over there, 9 to 4 p.m. registration goes on. And when I did my own, which was way back, it was quite smooth. It was effective, no crowd, no much turnout, because I needed to do my own. I wanted to do it. So far, so good. I think what INEC can do is to get consistent network or get more staff to man their machines and to create more machines, especially for the Southeastern people. We don't have as much machines as we wanted, because to make it a lot more smoother, because these people, they have businesses, they have things they have to do. So the more machines we have, the more staff that the INEC can produce, the more effective this the voter registration can be. Another thing is also to educate the people on how to vote, because there is one thing getting PVC, is another thing you put in the right vote, because sometimes your vote can be made invalid for some reason that you have no idea, you do not know about. So INEC needs to educate the people, especially the youth, on how to make their votes count.
Right. So I'm glad you're touching on some of the challenges being faced in that process, because looking at the figures, the newly registered voters, you'd see that the Southeast has the least, actually, especially for this recent one, just about 500 and something thousand compared to the over 1 million we've seen across either the South, Southwest, and the rest. So I'd like you to speak particularly on those challenges. Yes, you say you don't have enough machines to register, perhaps manpower as well. But there's also the question of security, voter apathy. If you could just lay all of that bare, because the good thing is we have INEC to respond to all of that. So aside the machines, what other challenges have you heard people face regarding registration?
Thank you very much for the question. Thank God, also good. It's a good thing INEC is also here. The issue about security, I'm going to talk about my state. I'm a lawyer, so we talk only with evidence, logic, facts. Enugu is one of the calmest states in Nigeria when it comes to security. So you can walk around anywhere you want, maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m. So security is not an issue. We cannot, INEC, no one can raise up the issue of security about registration of votes in Enugu because security is okay. So, like, it now goes back, and now you talk about apathy. In Enugu, Southeast, let's say use Enugu again, this apathy is not there. If you said 2019, I would say, okay, yes, there was voters apathy, there was voters indifference, especially from the youth. However, nowadays, you don't really need to go to a youth house and tell him, hey, go get the Catholic priest and say, hey, no PVC, you cannot enter your mass, and it's all funny and whatever. However, the real thing on ground, the words in the street now is people are enthusiastic about getting their PVC. And now it might be fueled by anger. It might be fueled by passion. They want to see you change. Now, the issue now is if INEC does not build on that, in a sense, like you said, now there's about 500,000 voters, accredited voters in Southeast, but we are bigger than that. So what is happening? Why is that issue prevailing here in the Southeast? So INEC needs to build on providing also machines, providing the staff for machines, more staff, maybe more polling units, and possibly extend that deadline as, from this month to maybe next month or 2 months from now, and make it easier to get.
All right, Mr. Obina.
For instance,
pardon me, we've got the man to respond to some of your concerns. He'll do that when we return in just a moment. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Continuing our focus on getting the right information out there for voters, the electorate, such that they can register. We've heard some concerns raised by Mr. Charles Obina from Enugu. Mr. Okoye, I'm sure you heard that, but we'll come back to you, Mr. Obina. Let's bring in Mr. Festus Okoye. He's in charge of voter education for INEC. He's also a national commissioner. Well, from what he's saying, Mr. Obina, that is, he thinks that INEC seems to be dampening the enthusiasm that lots of young people have to register. What say you?
Well, as far as the commission is concerned, the upsurge in terms of those who are coming out to come and register is an affirmation of the confidence the Nigerian people have in the ability of the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election. However, you will also recall that this process of voters registration exercise under the CVR started 11 months ago. In June 2021, we rolled out the online pre-registration for new registrants. And then in July, we rolled out the physical process of registration. And within this particular period, sometimes our registration officers register just one single individual a day. But there's a new resurgence, there's a new enthusiasm, and there's a new faith in the electoral process. And that is the way we view it. So the Commission has responded positively to this new trend by deploying additional machines to states of acute pressure. We've deployed additional machines to Lagos. We've deployed additional machines to Kano State. We've deployed additional machines to Oyo State. And we have also deployed additional machines to the 5 states of the Southeast. Now, even before we rolled out the physical registration process, we had consultative meetings with all the registered political parties, civil society groups and organizations, the media, and the security agencies. And we agreed on a rollout and rollback procedure, in which case, if we roll out and we encounter serious security challenges, we roll back to our state and local government offices. So this registration has been ongoing in all the 774 local government areas of the Federation and in 37 of our state offices. We have also rolled out to the various registration areas on a rotational basis. In other words, when our registration officers go to a particular registration area, they consult with the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, community leaders, and so on. And they stay in a particular registration area, maybe for a week, and move to a different registration area. And that's what we have been doing for the past 11 months.
Okay.
So, but we also anticipated that there was going to be a surge around this particular period. But the surge has been unprecedented, and we have responded positively to this particular surge.
So if I could just ask, I will hope that when you say the officials go to consult with the traditional rulers, we hope that they don't take instructions from them, telling them where to go, who can register, and all whatnot, on the one hand. And then, when exactly did this rollout happen in Lagos, in Enugu, and Kano? Could you be precise with that? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, yes.
When did the rollout happen in Lagos, Enugu, Kano, for instance?
No, what we did was that in all the states of the Federation, the online pre-registration started in June 2021, while the physical registration started in July 2021. What we have done is to deploy additional machines to states of acute pressure, but we rolled out in all the states of the Federation at the same time. Now, some of the crowds you are seeing at the Opera Square and some of the crowds you are seeing in Lagos are not normal crowds. What has taken place is that in some of the markets, some of the market leaders just simply woke up one morning and then directed their members that the only condition, that the condition precedent for accessing the market is presentation of a PVC. And then around 10,000 people descended on one registration area where there is only one registration machine. And then, of course, in such a situation, there's bound to be breakdown of law and order. But what we have done is that we have mapped out the areas of acute pressure, and we have deployed additional machines to all those places. The 30 machines we use for the concert at the Tafa Balewa Square have been deployed to areas of acute pressure in Lagos. We have deployed additional machines to Imo State. We have deployed to Enugu. We have deployed to Anambra, and we are confident that with the measures we have taken, that we are going to stem this pressure, and that every Nigerian who presents himself for registration will definitely be registered, because it's their constitutional right, and also it's their sovereign right to register and exercise their democratic franchise.
Mr. Okoye, I wonder if you're referring to, when you say market, I wonder if you're referring to Alaba International Market because of the security reports coming from that area, and not just that area, a number of areas in Ojo local government, Amuwo, Dofin, Alaba International, and other parts of Festac. Alaba, let's start with where they say hoodlums attacked, the registration centers there and carted away machines. And the areas are populated by Indigo, and they're saying that it's a deliberate attempt to marginalize them. What are the security reports that you're getting about that? Is it the same? Is it the same? Mr. Okoye? Hello, Mr. Okoye?
Yes, I can hear you. Now let me make this clear. If you look at Section 12 of the Electoral Act 2022, it makes it very clear that you are entitled to be registered as a voter, one, if you're a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Two, if you have attained the age of 18 and you have never registered or you have never registered before. Three, if you are resident in or works in a particular area or you originate from a particular area, you are entitled to be registered. Four, you must also present yourself to the registration officer for you to be registered. And five, you must not suffer any form of disability that prevents you from registering as a voter. These are the conditions for registration as a voter. Now, the point I'm making is that we mapped out the areas of registration even before we started this voters registration process. And there is a timetable for movement of the machines from one registration area to the other. But that movement does not anticipate a situation where 10,000 people or 5,000 people will descend on one registration area in a day. It anticipates a process where maybe 200 persons will be registered in a day. And so our resident electoral commissioner for Lagos State has consulted with the leaders of the various markets, and we have agreed on a timetable.
Mr. Okoye, yeah. They're not dismissing it as mere breakdown of law and order. In fact, in some parts, they're saying that they're not giving, when they even get to register, they're not giving their PVCs, they're giving pieces of paper because they are Igbo, and the understanding is that they are going to vote in a particular way. So it's a deliberate strategy to disenfranchise them in this electioneering season. What's your response to this?
Well, my response is that when you go to the registration center to go and register, the moment you complete your registration, we give you a slip which indicates that you have completed your registration. Now, after you are given a slip, we also run the entire registration in our ABIs to remove multiple registrants. When we remove multiple registrants, then we will now go to, we will do what we call claims and objections. Thereafter, the permanent voters card for each registrant will be printed, and they will come and collect those permanent voters cards. So we are not distributing the permanent voters cards now. The permanent voters cards that are being distributed at the moment are for those who registered during the first and second quarter of registration. Those are the ones that are being distributed now, and also those who couldn't collect their permanent voters cards before the 2019 general election. And so that's exactly what is going on at the moment. We want to assure Nigerians that every Nigerian who is desirous of registering, we have an opportunity of doing that. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission has promised that the commission will do whatever it takes, and we give every option open to make sure that all Nigerians get to register. And we assure all Nigerians that there is no impediment to their registration, and that we are going to register all those who are desirous of registering.
And also ensure that those who have registered get their permanent voter cards. But you're a lawyer, Mr. Okoye, so I'd like you to respond to this, because we've seen trends on and off social media, people being denied access either to church or to their market stalls or wherever because they do not have a PVC. Is that an infringement on the rights of those people, denying them access just because they don't have a PVC?
I've said it. If you want to consult me as a lawyer, you need to pay the necessary consultation fees for you to consult me as a lawyer. Now, we will not dabble into issues around religion and issues around markets. But all I know as an individual is that it is the constitutional and sovereign right of an individual to register as a voter and to also vote in an election. It is also the person's right not to register and not to vote. It's a civic responsibility, and if you so wish, you may just sit at home on election day and watch television or play football. But a good citizen will register and exercise his or democratic franchise, because that is the way to go. You must be interested in the way your country is governed. But it is it's a voluntary thing. There's no compulsion in people going to go and register or not to register. But I won't dabble into religious issues and into other issues, because I don't have the expertise in that area.
All right, Mr. Obina, could you give us your quick response to what you heard Mr. Okoye say? Has he answered your questions or concerns?
Thank you very much.
In relation to
Chamberlain. No. He has raised some points which are good. However, he said that the INEC has not seen a scenario when 10,000 people can descend upon a registration unit. However, Dr. Barrister Festus should know that Nigeria is a place of home to over 200 million people, meaning that thousands of people should be expected or can be expected to arrive in a polling unit due to maybe one instance or the other. So, also being offered an excuse that maybe the unit has only 200 people. Positive with 200 people or 300 people, 100. So what INEC should do or should have done is, take for instance, let's say there's 30 polling units. According to his statement, there's 30 polling units. 30 machines given to Lagos at where they did their stuff. Now, if there are 20,000 people at that polling unit in a week, that amounts to about 600 people to one machine, which means that a lot of people will lose their time, energy, source of income just to try and get a PVC. So now, if you're putting that kind of obstacle is in place, that means that some people might not want to come there and do their PVC every day. They think about, okay, I might go there and I'll waste my time. Look, you showed us a video about someone talking about this. So to a certain extent, with all due respect, no, our concerns as youth have not yet been satisfied. INEC should find a way to either employ more staff, open more units for registration, get more equipment, 30 machines to thousands of people.
All right, Mr. Obina.
It's not enough.
All right, let's get to Abuja as well. Let's see if they equally have as much concern. Markwe?
Indeed. Let me start with you, Ms. Wonso. What do you think of the registration process? We've seen the vote counts going on in Lagos, more and more young people showing enthusiasm to vote. Are you happy about that?
I'm happy that young people are getting to answer the call. However, I heard, I think it was Obina, or rather the Barrister Festus said something that the surge is as a result of the confidence that Nigerians have in INEC. Mm-hmm. I want to correct that. As a young person, as a Nigerian, I want to say that the surge is them seeing, especially young people, seeing an opportunity to answer a call. For instance, people rushing to the center is not because I've heard people blame them, they waited till last minute. No, a lot of people just are barely recovering from the NIN they had to try to register. It was hectic. Anybody who was responsible enough to participate in that would tell you the truth that it was hectic. And they just felt it was having to go into this again was a little bit too much. But I'm glad that the price of things in the market is the wake-up call they need. The fact that they wake up and they don't feel safe is enough for them to go to the registration center and get registered. The fact that we do not have leadership is enough for them to go to the registration centers. The fact that we wake up every day and we need to tell ourselves the truth that the current administration has failed us through and through is enough for us to get to the centers and vote. It has nothing to do with INEC.
What I want to know is, have you received complaints from young people like yourself about the registration process?
Yes. I've had to interview people, I've gone around to, and I've seen. And like the other man pointed out, I feel that the process can be made a little bit more easier because it doesn't really add up that you have this crowd. You've seen that there's actually a crowd and you're not deploying machines and putting things in place. And sometimes when they get there, they complain about network and a very, very important issue that I think should be addressed now. We need to begin to drive this narrative, else they will take it into the elections. The issue of our security agencies. They are supposed to be there to help provide security, not bully people, not beat up people, not try to stop people from exercising their rights. I heard them mention, while the other man was talking, he said something, they were interviewing someone, and he said the security agents, they were making it difficult. They are not supposed to have a business with that. As it is now, Nigerians, especially the youth, will move anything that stands in the way of them getting what they want. And what they want right now is a change of leadership in this country.
Let me ask you, that's certainly something to chair, that young people are, engaging with the process. I was reading a tweet and someone said that that's certainly something to be happy about, because it means that they're willing to engage and that there is hope for this country when young people haven't given up. They think that it is possible for things to change. How are you reading this enthusiasm, and have you also received complaints of difficulty in being able to register to vote?
Yes, I would like to draw the attention of the Independent National Electoral Commission to the following facts. One, Festus did say that registration is going on in 774 local government. That may not be true to some extent. In my state, Imo State, the three local governments in my federal constituency of Osun, Olo, and Oru East have some security challenges, and registration are not going on in those places. So we'll also want to request that at the end of this registration, there has to be a special program for those areas that are challenged in terms of security-wise, because the security arrangement they have in place now, the registration they have in place now, the arrangement for now cannot really cater so well for those areas that are challenged security-wise. So there has to be, because in those areas you have to provide very adequate security, and you need to also do some form of education to be able to get people to come out, because people are shying away from coming, not even because of threats and intimidations and all whatnot. So I want to specially make a request to the Independent National Electoral Commission that the areas that have special challenges, especially the people of Oso, Olo, and Oru East, that a special program be designed for them for their registration. Secondly, there were reports, although he did not try to answer it, the report of the bias in Lagos. I have also requested that the Independent National Electoral Commission should also investigate that issue of ethnic bias with a view of seeing that the officers of Independent National Electoral Commission who were involved in that, or they should do a mass redeployment and redeploy people to other states and make sure that people who are working as INEC officials in Lagos are people who are not there based on one ethnic nationality or the other, so that there will be all inclusivity in what program that will happen in Lagos, because Lagos is a special state in the sense that there's no family in this country that is not represented in Lagos. So it's a place that you will not intimidate people to say that except you do this, you will not be registered. Thirdly, the surge that is happening is not, you can see from the photographs, so many people there are above 30, so many people there are up to 40. What's the reason why they are coming out now? the Independent National Electoral Commission should have gone back to the drawing board to really study what's responsible for this. And if you ask me, I can tell you categorically that it was the signing of the Electoral Act by the president, the signing of the Electoral Bill into Act, that instilled this confidence that now there will be no more cases of using incident this in such a way that people can raise fake votes. There's no more cases of people manipulating the process.
So on that count, is correct that there is a little more confidence in the ability of the institution?
Because of the law in place now, you can you can check the back end, you can do all sorts of things. So it's important that they should adjust their programs, because in their programs for this registration, they never anticipated that this number of people will be involved.
Well, let me ask Mr. Okoye if that is true. Quite a number of things to note. He's raised 3 points, and she's also raised the point that it was difficult for people to get their NIN. And then going into that again, another registration process could have been a bit discouraging. I do not know if you have a response to some of these issues that have been raised.
Yes, thank you. I listened to Obin, and I've also listened to Jeff. Incidentally, one of the local governments he mentioned, which is Olu local government, is also my own local government. So if somebody should have a special interest, I should have a special interest in what is going on in Olu local government. But let me just say this. But we did this voters registration exercise 11 months ago. Precisely in the month of June 2021. That was when the online pre-registration started. And then in July 2021, we rolled out the physical registration. And we have to bear that in mind. Secondly, the commission responded to the cries of the young people by establishing the online pre-registration. And if you look at the figure we rolled out as at 6th day of June 2022, you will see that young people between the ages of 18 to 34 access the online portal. Over 12 million of them access the online portal, which shows that they responded to the call by the Independent National Electoral Commission to access the online portal. But let it be made clear, this present registration, this CVR that we are conducting now, is not for everybody. We already have 84 million Nigerians who already registered, whose registration are already domiciled in our database. This particular registration is for those who have never registered in any election, and those who attain the age of 18 from the period we registered voters the last time. Those are the only people that are entitled to register afresh. People who want to do transfer are not entitled to register again. They are only entitled to transfer their registration. Those whose PVCs are damaged are not entitled to register again. They are only entitled to complain about their lost PVC or their damaged PVC or their defaced PVC, and the commission will replace it. But what some people are doing is that when their PVCs are lost, they go and register afresh, thereby invalidating their new registration. When they have damaged PVCs, they go and register afresh. When they leave their PVCs in the village, they go and register afresh. And this has been what has been driving some of these issues and some of these processes. I completely agree that we must design a special mechanism of responding to some of these to this surge, and we have definitely done that as an electoral management body. But I believe that we must acknowledge the fact that there's the 11th hour syndrome that propels some of this particular surge. We normally wait for the 11th hour before we do things. Look at all the previous registrations that the commission has done. You will see the 11th hour syndrome in this case. But the commission is not dwelling on that. What we are saying is that we have seen the surge. We are responding positively to the surge. We had a meeting with all the resident electoral commissioners in Nigeria. And areas of acute need, we are responding to them.
Well, Mr. Okoye, you know, during the Anambra elections, before that elections, as a matter of fact, you spoke glowingly about BVAS and what INEC had put in place, but then the elephant in the room came back to bite us in the bum: logistics. Now you're preparing for Ekiti elections. What do we expect? Are people going to wait a long time before they vote? What should we expect this time around?
you should expect a good election in Ekiti State. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission was in Ekiti 2 weeks ago on what we call readiness assessment, and we visited 5 local governments, and all the non-sensitive materials have already been biased in accordance with the registration areas. Presently, the chairman is in Ekiti State, and there is going to be a stakeholder engagement today, and tomorrow there will be a signing of a peace accord. Every indices that will ensure a very good election in Ekiti State is in place. And we did a mock accreditation in 12 polling units across the 3 senatorial districts of Ekiti State 2 weeks ago. And we are confident that the BVAS will perform optimally. And so we expect a very good and inclusive election in Ekiti State on the 18th day of June 2022.
Well, I believe it's a fine place to leave the conversation. We have to thank you very much, Mr. Festus Okoye, who's the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Virtual Education Committee at INEC. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Ekiti. We wish you a very successful conduct of the polls. I think that we might still call you again before the elections on Saturday, but we have to thank you for joining us today. We also have had with us Mr. Jeff Ojinika, who's a former deputy chairman of IPAC and also a former member of the House of Representatives. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. And we've also had the pleasure of the company of Ms. Oluchi Nwosu, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party, a media entrepreneur and a gender advocate. Thank you so much for coming on as well.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Charles Obinna, who is a candidate of the APC for the House of Reps for Enugu North and Enugu South constituency. Thank you so much for joining us as well. We do hope that registration goes smoother in the area that you are hoping to represent. Well, that's what we'll have to leave it for this segment. We will be back with more on politics. Find out just who we're bringing on in a moment. Please stay with us.